Hello, I'm Dr. April Dobson, and welcome to this episode of Purpose Today. I'm excited to introduce a very special guest we have today, Natalie Jovanic. Natalie is a master therapeutic counselor and trauma recovery coach. We are excited to have Natalie on the show today, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned for our special guest, Natalie Jovanic, here on Purpose Today with Dr. April Dobson. Welcome back to Purpose Today. I'm very excited to introduce you all to our very special guest, Natalie Jovanic. Natalie is a master therapeutic counselor and trauma recovery coach with Bright Horizons Therapy. Welcome, Natalie.
Welcome, April. I'm very happy to be here today. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you. And it's a pleasure to have you on the show. So, what would you like to share with our viewers about yourself?
Thank you for asking, but I really like to share that I'm incredibly passionate about trauma and recovery. So I work as a trauma counselor and coach. However, it's not only grounded in my professional training, it's also based on my own lived experience with trauma. And so my healing journey really inspired this change and taught me that healing is possible, even if we face really deep challenges. And so, on the other hand, I'm an immigrant here in Canada. I'm originally German-Croatian, and I've lived in Spain before I moved here. So my diverse background really has shaped my values as a counselor concerning inclusion and diversity, and I really understand how systemic dynamics can also influence our lives. And on the other hand, I also have faced stigma around childhood abuse. And so this also really teaches me when I work with my client that I'm mindful of these dynamics and how they might affect us.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Natalie, for sharing that insight. I think that the fact that you've traveled around the world, you've lived around the world, and the experiences that you've had helped you really to not allow those things to, make a determination of your future or define you, but really inspired you to start a business. And so, could you share some additional insight about your business and a little more information on how your path led, to become a counselor?
Sure, I'm happy to share that. So my journey to become a counselor was quite a journey. So my original career path is that I'm an industrial engineer and I spent years working in product management. And I had after a while really a sense that I needed to change something, but I wasn't sure what. And so when I started my own healing journey, I really realized that there were effective methods out there that could support my healing journey. And I think at the beginning, I really had doubts. So when I went through this change, I really started to seek out these trainings. And I started off with coaching, family constellation, and then later on with counseling. And I really looked for these modalities that can heal trauma and that resonated with my healing journey. I also need to say I had some difficult encounters with counselors, so I was kind of skeptical around the field. And I use these encounters also to really be mindful about my responsibility as a counselor. And so I started off being trained in Spain, and I'm deeply grateful for my teachers because they really had a systemic approach. And it is really the foundation on how I see the world. And I know that this perspective is still quite rare in the field. And so I launched my business in Spain. And then when I was in Spain, I decided to write a memoir around my healing journey because I wanted to challenge stigma. However, I write in English because my Spanish was good, but it wasn't good enough for writing. And so living in two different languages and not in the dominant language in the country I lived in was really difficult. So I decided for my business and for my writing that it was easier to be in an English-speaking country. And so I decided to move to Canada just to deepen my business and to move forward in my journey. And I continue to pursue specialized trauma treatment like EMDR so that I can offer my clients a really wide range of methodologies to offer what I do to the unique needs of my clients.
Wow, that's fantastic. I mean, it sounds like you made a wonderful decision to pivot professionally, when you knew you needed to do that. And then as you move forward and were doing something that you loved, you did a pivot again to ensure that you could, be authentic to yourself,
Yeah.
With the English language and, ensuring that you could also help more people. So transitioning to Canada. So I definitely can see from hearing everything that you're saying that you really love what you do. So why do you love what you do? What is it about counseling that you love?
I absolutely love to witness a transformation in people, and also to really have this very deep connection with a human being. Because if somebody shares a story around trauma, it is really a very vulnerable state. And so I know that how I respond to it and how I navigate it can really influence what is going on for the client and can support them in the healing journey. And I love to see the transformation in people when in the beginning they had anxiety and they felt like it was impossible to heal or ever overcome it. And then suddenly they realize, wow, I have been in a difficult situation and I was calm and I was confident and it all went well for me. And so really see how people change it. And I know that, yes, a counseling session have a role in it, but also people put in a lot of effort in their own transformation, and really I see their commitment to their journey, and it's beautiful to see. And on the other hand, I also, like, each client brings me a different story. So by listening to their stories, understanding their experience, I really gain a deeper understanding of our world and of the systems we live in. So I'm really passionate about healing, but also challenging social dynamics like stigma, because many people aren't aware how much they are shaped by stigmatizing beliefs and that healing isn't possible. So this is why I have a podcast, just to educate people more.
That's wonderful. And you said something that I want us to just take a moment to unpack. You said that people have a role in their own transformation. So, so how, if you had to basically put a ratio, what percentage do you believe the person has in that transformation, and what role do you have, as a counselor? Or is it just simply a partnership?
I think it's a partnership. Like, I hold the space and I give tools, and I may see things a client may not see. So I facilitate a change. However, like, for example, trauma often affects our nervous system, so we are dysregulated. So the client applies these kind of things outside of therapy. So there is this so embodied transformation really takes time, and only the sessions alone aren't enough to promote the change. And so it also, like, it's a complex topic, so it really depends on what has happened to the individual. But I think in the majority is really that we put also effort outside of counseling. Like, in my own journey, I did a lot of things outside of counseling to just become better, to apply the tools. Like, I started meditating, I started yoga, I started to really practice assertiveness. But like, things like boundaries and assertiveness, they need to be practiced outside of counseling, so that we understand where are we stuck and where can we improve on.
That's good. That's really, really good. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's really, important. And it also shows that we constantly work on our transformation.
Yeah.
And, ensure that even if someone has, if we've got have viewers who have counselors who are helping them to navigate and facilitating those transformations, that they're taking time in their own time to also continue to work that, and establishing boundaries and doing the things that are necessary to continue to cultivate the right spaces and the right environments for transformation. So that's excellent. Thank you. So I know you mentioned before that you had some time in Spain and then you moved your business to Canada. So can you share a little bit of insight, for the services that you provide to your clients? Do you provide virtual counseling or is it in person? How do you offer those services?
Like, I offer both. Like, I offer in-person sessions for people here in Calgary, but the majority of my sessions are really virtual sessions. And so people can work with me from the comfort of their home. I have clients in many different countries. I even had clients in Australia. So it really depends on, like, they came to me because my approach resonated with them. And so in the end, I think there's an aspect people need to think about it. Some people appreciate virtual counseling and some people say it's not for them, and then it's not for them, and that's perfectly right. But in the end, we can do a lot of transformation via online sessions.
That's good. And I know that you have a website, and I have that, scrolling along the screen. So if there's anyone who is interested in more information, I have the website for brighthorizontherapies.com shown there. Now, are there any specific areas that you address, or maybe specific groups that you provide counseling to?
Yes, so I specifically work with counseling for trauma. And so this is often a big word, and people often don't even know that they have experienced trauma. So I especially work with people who have experienced childhood abuse, people who have experienced sexual abuse, people who have experienced bullying. I also work with people who have been in a toxic workplace, or who lost a loved one, or who been through a really painful divorce. So it's all topics that are painful, there's loss involved, and complicated emotions. Since I integrated anti-oppressive practices into my approach to counseling, I work a lot with diverse clients. So here in Canada, I work with Black people, I work with queer folks. So it's really diverse. And I really pay attention on what is my privilege in this relationship and how can I navigate that healthily.
That's awesome. And I know that, sometimes we have people who we may not have an opportunity to reach. They may not be in our space. We may not have an opportunity to meet with them virtually or meet with them in person. And so I think there are other resources, or maybe there are people that there's an opportunity to have counseling virtually or in person, but there are other things that can also be a resource. And you mentioned a little bit earlier about a book that you authored. And so I want us to unpack that more. Can you share additional insight regarding your book and how viewers can find it if they're interested?
Sure. So my book is not necessarily a workbook, but it's my memoir about my healing journey and my childhood experiences, because I personally healed a lot by reading other people's story. And so I really wrote the book because I had the hope that it would challenge stigma around trauma, and that people can understand that healing is possible, even if our journeys are different. And so I really hope that my story gives other people hope that they go through the change. And also, yes, I think many people have these parts that believe if you have experienced trauma, we are broken, or that it's a lifetime sentence. But all of these kind of stereotypes, they're just stereotypes. They are not real. And like for me, stigma blocked me for a long time to even seek out counseling. And so having this awareness now, looking back, I really hope that it promotes people to change and just start to look for ways on how they can heal. And it doesn't always need to be counseling. There are many good workbooks out there, but I hope that people get an idea of what steps they can take.
That's good. And where is your book available?
The book is available on Amazon.com or Amazon Canada. So it's called A Brave True Story, a transformational memoir about healing family ties and relationships.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. And if viewers want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do so?
Yes, I think the easiest way to connect with me is by email at nat@brighthorizontherapies.com. I really love to hear from anyone interested in learning more about trauma and recovery, or just somebody who wants support, have some support option and get some ideas. Like, I'm happy to connect with people.
Fantastic. Well, I do have your contact information there for anyone who's interested. So thank you for sharing that. Is there anything else that you would like to share with our viewers, either about about you or about Bright Horizon Therapies?
Yes, like if people are curious to learn more about trauma and recovery, and also the different options that they have for trauma and recovery, I have a podcast which is called Trauma Demystified, which is the next step after the book. So which really speaks about trauma from a personal lens, from a professional lens, and gives people ideas on their recovery journey, and hopefully also accompanies them throughout their journey.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Natalie. This has been very informative, wonderful information. And thank you so much for taking the time to be our very special guest here on Purpose Today with Dr. April Dobson. Thank you.
Thank you, April, for having me.
You're welcome. So that was such an amazing, inspiring story. How Natalie was able to, overcome the experiences, overcome different traumas, and then reshape things by, pivoting professionally from a career that was undesirable to becoming a counselor, and then making a pivot geographically, relocating from Spain to Canada to ensure that there was an opportunity for using the primary language in providing care for others, and then being authentic in providing counseling services. So we are very excited to encourage you to pursue your purpose, every day. And so if you are in a situation and you believe that you need to pivot professionally, but you're not quite sure how to pivot, you feel like you're stuck, you feel like there's something that you need to transform about your life, you're invited to email us at admin@purposetoday.com. Include information about your scenario, and we would love to connect with you, talk to you about your situation, have you as a guest on the show, talk about what you desire, what you are, what you love, and give you some options and some recommendations on how you can pivot. We appreciate you tuning in today, and we invite you to tune in on Monday at 7 a.m. Eastern Time for another episode of Purpose Today with Dr. April Dobson. We look forward to seeing you on our next episode. And remember, be purposeful today and every day. Welcome back to Purpose Today. What an amazing interview with Natalie Jovanic with Bright Horizon Therapies. We want to give an opportunity for someone who has written in a question. And of course, I always mention how important it is to do what you love what you do, and fulfill your purpose. So we have a question that came from someone who has what they call a dilemma. And let's just take a look. This person wrote in, I'm just a bit stuck with the decision I need to make career-wise. I'll give a bit of background. I'm a 30-year-old and currently in a role where I am doing extremely well and have a good career ahead of me. The only thing is, I really am not interested in the job that I'm doing. It is a sales job, and there's a lot of pressure despite the fact I'm doing well. I feel like even on annual leave and days off, I cannot switch off because I am worrying about things I need to do. This person goes on to say, I sort of just fell into this role when I wanted to earn a bit of money and then progressed within the role. And we'll take a look at the rest of the question. It says, so here's my dilemma. I recently got a job to be cabin crew, which means obviously traveling the world. And once you get off the plane, no worries to think about on your days off. It's also such an amazing lifestyle with lots of days off and just no stress at all. This person goes on to say, I worked as a cabin crew for years before and loved it so much. But like I said, I left because I wanted to earn more money. So the person goes on to say, anyway, I handed in my notice and my current job offered me a pay increase. So my basic salary will be 39,000 euros with 15,000 to 20,000 in commission on top. My friends who are in cabin crew are currently on a 38,000 euro average salary per year. So a big pay cut. there's more to this question. Just want to give you all of the background. It says, so now I'm stuck on what to do. My head is saying money, but my heart is saying cabin crew. My sister died last year as well. My condolences to you on your loss, which is what has made me rethink life and make me want to do something I enjoy. I am also in a unfortunate, but you know what I mean, position where I will inherit her estate, which I'll be able to use towards a hefty house deposit. I think I already know what to do, but some advice would be welcomed. So I just want to take an opportunity to talk about how important it is to do what you love, do what you feel purpose to do what you were passionate about. And again, my heart and my condolences go out to you in the loss of your sister. I know that the situation that you're in might be a situation that you feel for you is a unique situation, but honestly, this situation is a situation that a lot of people face. I spent 11 years in the United States Air Force, and I have made friends from all around the world. And I have friends who, live in so many different places. And one of the things that I see often with people who leave the military is they feel that they need to stay in a career because that's a career that they have experience in, or that's a career that they have familiarity with, or that's a career that makes money. And I said this in a prior episode. It may have been episode 6. I'm not sure, but I've said it in a prior episode. I really believe that if you follow your purpose and you follow your passion and you follow and do what you love, that the money will come along with it. I know for you, you sort of have these two options that are available for you. You have the position that has what you consider to be a considerable salary, and you have opportunity for a commission on top of that. But the reality of the situation is, and that's the reality, right, that you don't love what you do. It doesn't inspire you. It doesn't speak to you. It doesn't align with what you feel purpose to do. It doesn't align with what you feel passionate about. And I said in another episode, I believe it was in the very first episode, that when it comes to what we love, it's not about there being, things being in the realm of reality and possibility. We create our own reality, right? So if there's something that you want, if there's something that you're desiring, if there's something, that you feel that your purpose to do, something that you love, I really challenge you to go after it. I think if you're doing what you love, then the money will come. There's things that you can do. I know you gave the cabin crew opportunity as the position that you're really immediately faced with making a decision. Do you, leave your current role where they've offered more money for you to stay in the role, or do you go and do what you love? And it's really important. We've had people on prior episodes who talked about, the risk that come with doing something that we don't desire to do, the stress that it creates on the body, the mental stress, the physical stress. And so our desire should be to do what we love doing. We should go after what we love doing. And there may be some opportunities. I know you're not content with the salary for that cabin crew, but it leaves you with time and space available to create a business. You could launch a travel business. You could launch whatever other business you have an interest in, what you have a love for doing and a passion for doing. It gives you an opportunity to do that. And I really encourage you to allow yourself to not be confined to what might seem to be comfortable, or what might seem to be an option to move forward with because there's more salary. But I really encourage you to see the worth that you bring to the table, to see your value, to see how important it is to do what you love, what you're passionate about doing. And I really believe that you'll really appreciate the fact that you've taken the leap and you've decided to do what you love and to go after what you're truly desiring. And I know that there may be other people who are in similar situations that you're faced with. Do I take the opportunity that aligns with what I love, or do I take the opportunity that's safe and has more salary? And, I really think that there are additional costs that are associated with staying in something that you don't have a desire to do. And so I really believe that it's important to take every day, take every moment to do what you love to do what you enjoy. And I know that there may be other people who are watching who believe that you need to pivot and you're not quite sure how to pivot. I've said it before and I've said it again. I would absolutely love to help. I would love to help to facilitate the discussions and the thoughts around how you can get from where you are to where you truly desire to be, and you're living in the life that you love. And I believe we have to build the life that we desire. That's a part of being purposed every day. And so if you feel you're in a situation that you know that you need to pivot, but you're not quite sure how, I do encourage you to email us at admin@purposetoday.com. Again, that's admin@purposetoday.com. And I'd love to hear your situation, and I'd love to speak more with you. We would love to hear from you, and we would love to help you to transition from doing something that it's time for you to move away from, and position yourself to do what you love and position yourself to do what you're purposed to do. So if this has resonated with you and there's something that you've gained from the show today, from this story that someone wrote in about where they are and needing to make a transition from a position that seems to have a good salary to something that they really love, or just the idea of being inspired to do what you love and desire. If this has resonated with you, please invite your friends, your family to tune in to Purpose Today with Dr. April Dobson. And if you want to share how this show is impacting you, then feel free to send us an email as well at admin@purposetoday.com. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram, Purpose Today on Facebook, and Purpose Today on Instagram. And so we really appreciate all of you viewers who are viewing from around the world. We appreciate you who have shared this show with others. And we appreciate, again, Natalie, for coming on to share your story and to share information about Bright Horizons. So thank you all for tuning in for this episode of Purpose Today. And I invite you to pursue your purpose today. And we'll see you on Monday at 7 a.m. Eastern.